The battlefield smelled of smoke, blood, and fear. Jackson ran through the burning alien village, blaster in hand. He wasn't supposed to be here, just a human soldier helping with medical aid. But when the enemy beasts attacked, chaos followed. Now fire burned the sky red, and screams echoed from every corner. He had been trying to escape when he saw her, an alien girl, no older than 20 in human years, backed into a wall. Her skin shimmered like violet glass, and her white warrior robes were torn. In front of her, a beast the size of a hover truck snarled, claws ready to strike. She had no weapon. No chance. Jackson acted without thinking. He dropped his blaster empty anyway and sprinted forward. His boots smashed into mud as he slid next to a glowing stone pedestal. There it was. A long silver sword rested on it. Strange markings ran along its blade. It pulsed faintly, like it had a heartbeat. No one else had touched it. Locals had screamed when he ran near it, but Jackson didn't care. The beast lunged. He grabbed the sword. A white flash exploded from the blade. The ground shook. A sharp pain stabbed into Jackson's chest, but he held on. The sword felt heavy but right, like it belonged in his hand. He swung once. The glowing blade sliced clean through the beast's neck. It dropped with a loud crash, dead before it hit the ground. Silence. Smoke curled around Jackson's boots. He turned toward the alien girl. Her wide blue eyes stared at him, though, at the sword in his hand. Behind her, other aliens appeared. Warriors in golden armor. Elders with glowing tattoos. They all stared at Jackson. In horror. One of them, a tall woman with a cracked staff, stepped forward. Her voice trembled. He touched the mate blade. Jackson frowned. What? The girl slowly walked to him, her eyes never leaving the blade. She didn't speak, just fell to her knees and bowed her head. Others gasped. Stop, Jackson said, awkwardly, lowering the sword. I just wanted to help. She was going to die. The elder woman's eyes narrowed. Do you not know what you've done, human? Jackson looked at her, confused. I grabbed the sword. That's it. The old woman pointed at the sword. That is not just a sword. It is the mate blade of the Vayari. It only allows itself to be lifted by the one destined to protect and marry a daughter of our bloodline. Jackson blinked. What? No, I didn't. You held the blade, the woman said, voice shaking. You claimed her. He looked down at the sword again. It was no longer glowing. It looked ordinary now. Dull even, but still warm in his grip. The alien girl remained silent, head bowed. Her long silver hair touched the dirt. Jackson stepped back, panicked. This has to be a mistake. I don't wanna. He stopped himself. I didn't mean to claim anyone, but no one listened. The elders surrounded him. They began chanting in low voices. A circle formed. Warriors placed their spears in the ground, facing inward. The alien girl stood up, eyes meeting his for the first time. She looked sad. Your name? She asked softly. Jackson, he said, voice shaking. Private First Class Jackson Reeves. I am Lyra, she replied. You saved me. The sword chose you. He stepped back again. I didn't know. I didn't want you to die. That's enough, she whispered. It always chooses a protector first. Jackson looked around. All eyes were on him, not with anger, but with awe. And something deeper. Something sacred. The elder raised her staff. By sacred right, the bond has begun. You have one night to accept this fate. If you do not, she didn't finish. Jackson felt his heart pound. If I don't? The elder simply said, the sword will return to sleep. But the bond may break more than just steel. Then they left him. Just like that. The sword still sat in his hand. Lyra stood quietly beside him. The fire around them faded. The battle was over. But Jackson knew his real fight had just begun. Lyra couldn't sleep. She sat alone under the glowing sky, staring at the human's tent. The wind moved softly through the trees, but her heart was too loud. The mate blade had chosen again after 50 years. And it chose him, a human. She didn't even know if he believed in the old ways. But it didn't matter anymore. He had touched the sword, and when he touched it, he touched her life. Inside the tent, Jackson turned the blade in his hand again and again. It looked quiet now, like any other piece of metal. No glow, no warmth, but when he first held it, he remembered a strange feeling, like something pulled inside him. Something ancient. He shook his head. "This is insane," he muttered. He got up and stepped outside. Lyra was there. She looked up at him slowly, her silver eyes calm, but unreadable. "I didn't mean to claim you," Jackson said, unsure of the words. "I know," she replied softly. "I only wanted to help, and you did," she said. "But our law sees more than action. It sees purpose." He sat down beside her, unsure what to say next. The silence was long, but not uncomfortable. After a moment, she spoke again. "Do you know why no one else ever touched that sword?" He shook his head. "Because it waits," she said. "It sleeps until it finds someone willing to die for someone else without asking why." Jackson looked down. He hadn't known her name when he jumped into battle. He hadn't thought about culture or weapons or consequences. He had only seen someone about to die, and now what? He asked. "Now," she said, "you are bonded to me, not fully." "Not yet. You have time to decide. What happens if I say no?" Lyra didn't answer at first. She looked at the trees, at the stars, at anything but him. Then she whispered, "Then I lose honor, my people lose faith. And the sword may never wake again." He blinked. "All that because I picked up a sword?" She turned to him now finally, with eyes full of quiet pain. "No, Jackson, all that because you touched me without knowing it." He stood up, overwhelmed. "I didn't ask for this." He snapped, more at the sky than at her. "I didn't either," she said calmly. He froze. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. "Do you think I wanted to be saved by a stranger? To be marked by fate? To be told my life now belongs to someone who doesn't even understand what that means?" Jackson looked at her. For the first time, he didn't just see an alien girl. He saw a person tired, scared, and trapped just like him. "I'm sorry," he said. She nodded. "Rest now," she said, standing. "The elders will summon us at dawn. They will ask for your answer." She walked away, leaving him alone with the quiet sword and a loud choice. At sunrise, the entire village gathered in the circle of stone. The flames of last night's battle were gone, but tension hung in the air like smoke. The elder raised her staff. "Has the human decided?" Jackson stepped forward, sword in hand. "I don't understand your customs," he said honestly. "I don't believe in magic swords. But I do believe in honor. I believe in doing what's right." He turned to Lyra. "I will not walk away from someone I saved." Gasps filled the air. The sword glowed faintly. Lyra looked away for a moment, like she didn't want him to see the tear in her eye. The elder nodded. "Then the first rite begins." Jackson blinked. "Wait first?" But before he could ask more, the ground shook. A loud roar echoed in the distance. Lyra turned sharply. "That's not from our people." From the trees beyond the village, black banners rose. A rival clan was coming, and they had come for the sword and the girl. The sword hummed in Jackson's hand like it knew war was coming. He didn't sleep that night. Not after the drums started. Not after Lyra whispered, "They're coming for me." And not after she looked at him, not with fear, but with something worse, resignation. As if she'd already accepted she was going to be taken. Hours earlier, the village had erupted in panic. Warriors rushed to build defenses. Mothers pulled children inside their huts. The sky darkened as if it too knew what was coming. The rival clan, the Marnock, had crossed borders. And they brought a force that dwarfed the Veari. "They're not just here to fight," one elder warned. They're here to claim what you hold. Jackson glanced down at the sword, then at Lyra standing silently beside him. This blade means that much to them. The elder shook his head. Not the blade. The girl it binds. Later, in the armory, Jackson trained with Vayari weapons. He wasn't a sword fighter, he preferred guns. But something strange was happening. The sword moved with him. It guided his strikes, slowed when he panicked, corrected his balance, as if it wanted him to survive. Your bond is growing, Lyra said softly behind him. He turned, surprised. She watched him with unreadable eyes. What happens if I fall in battle? He asked. She didn't hesitate. Then I must follow you. He blinked. Follow me? Our bond is not just law, she said. It is life. If the protector dies, the chosen bears the shame. In our history, none have lived long after that. Jackson froze. The weight of the sword suddenly felt heavier. That's insane. You didn't choose me. No, she whispered. But the sword did, and now I must live or die by your side. As night fell, they sat by the fire. Warriors sharpened blades. Scouts returned with reports. The Marnock would reach them by morning. Jaxo looked at Lyra again. Not just her shimmering skin or the way her voice was always calm. He noticed how she wrapped a young child in a cloak, how she reassured the frightened, how she stayed strong even when her hands shook. Why do they want you so badly? He finally asked. Lyra hesitated, then slowly pulled back her sleeve. A mark glowed faintly on her arm, golden and shaped like a flame. I am the last heir of the Fireborn, she said. A bloodline that once ruled half the stars. Jackson stared. You're a princess? She nodded once. A lost one. My clan was destroyed by betrayal. Only this village took me in, and now they want to take you back? No, she said. They want to end the bloodline. For good. Silence hung between them. Then Jackson stood and held out the sword. Then they'll have to go through me. Lyra looked up, eyes wide. Why? Because, he said, I may not be your true mate, Lyra, but I'll be your shield. She said nothing, but for the first time she smiled. Just before dawn, a scream echoed from the village gates. Jackson rushed out, sword drawn. A scout stumbled in, bloodied and gasping. They've sent a message. He held up a cloth soaked in dark red. Attached to it was something worse, a broken Vayari ring. Lyra's face went pale. That was my father's. The elder took the cloth and read the words written in alien script. Return the sword. Return the girl, or we burn everything. Jackson stepped forward. Then let them try. He woke up with a blade at his throat. Jaxon didn't breathe. A shadow stood over him, tall, fast, and silent. The edge of a curved dagger pressed against his neck, cold and sharp. But before the attacker could strike, a voice shattered the silence. Touch him, and I'll burn you alive. Lyra. She stood at the tent entrance, her hand glowing with red energy. Her eyes, usually soft and still, were now wild and full of fury. The shadow hesitated, and that was enough. Jackson grabbed the sword beside his bedroll and swung. Sparks flew. The attacker jumped back, slicing the tent open before vanishing into the dark. Jackson rolled to his feet, heart pounding. What the hell was that? Lyra didn't answer. She was already outside, scanning the trees. Then they heard it, screams. The Marnock had come early. The village exploded in fire. Beasts charged through the outer fences. Marnock soldiers, dressed in black armor, with glowing red visors, stormed through the smoke. They didn't shout. They didn't hesitate. They came to destroy. Jackson stood beside Lyra as the Vayari warriors fought back. Spears clashed. Arrows flew. The sky lit up with fire and blood. But it wasn't a battle. It was a test. They weren't here to win. They were here to measure him. Too. See the human who held the mate blade. One of the Marnock warriors, twice Jackson's size, came running at him. The man didn't even speak, he just raised a brutal hammer. Jackson stepped forward. The sword responded. His hands moved faster than his mind. The blade blocked, turned, and sliced. The Marnuk's weapon shattered. One blow sent him flying. Jackson stood there, stunned by his own strength. Lyra looked at him, her chest rising and falling. "You fight like one who belongs," she whispered. He didn't answer. Another wave came. They fought together. Back dash to dash back. Every time he slipped, Lyra was there. Every time she stumbled, he caught her. No words were exchanged, just glances. Just trust. And for the first time, Jackson realized they didn't feel like strangers anymore. They felt like something more. After hours, the Marnok retreated. Not defeated, but watching, studying, waiting. Bodies were burned. Wounded were treated. And still, Jackson and Lyra stood guard. "You saved me again," he said finally, breaking the silence. Lyra looked at him, her face lit by the firelight. "You saved me first." He nodded. "So we're even now?" She didn't smile. Instead, she stepped closer. "No, not even. Because now I owe you more than a life." He frowned. "What do you mean?" Lyra took his hand and placed it on the sword between them. "This sword," she said, "was forged to bind two people. Not just in battle, but in purpose." She leaned in, voice barely a whisper. "If you fight beside me, if you truly accept me, then your soul becomes mine." He swallowed hard. "And if I already gave it without knowing?" She looked into his eyes. "Then it's already done." They stood there, fingers still on the sword, neither moving. No kiss. No promise. Just silence. And an unspoken vow. He had barely taken a sip of water when the war drum sounded one single beat. The entire village froze. Every Vayari warrior turned a stone circle. Even the wind stopped moving. Like nature itself held its breath. Lyra stood still beside Jackson. Her voice was low. "It's the blooded call." Jackson looked at her, confused. "What does that mean?" She didn't look back. "It means someone just challenged your right to stand beside me." In the center of the village, the Vayari gathered quickly. The elder stood with her staff, voice firm. "Let the challenger step forward." A tall figure emerged, muscular, gold-skinned, wearing the tattoos of an elite bloodline. His eyes burned like fire. "I am Kale of the First Flame," he said loudly. "I was promised Lyra before the sword was ever touched. The human's claim is false. I demand the right of combat." Jackson blinked. "Wait, what?" Kale turned toward him, lips curled. "You are not of our kind. You are not of her blood. You touch the sword, but you do not deserve her." Jackson looked at Lyra. Her face was tight, controlled, but her fists were clenched. "You know him?" Jackson asked quietly. She nodded once. "He's the son of the warrior who betrayed my clan. He only wants me to restore his family's name, not because he cares." Jackson stepped forward. "And if I refuse to fight?" The elder answered. "Then you surrender your bond, and she becomes his." Kale grinned. "You can leave with your life, human. Just drop the sword." Jackson looked at the weapon in his hand. It didn't glow. It didn't speak. But it felt warm, like it trusted him to make the right choice. He took a deep breath, then raised the blade. "I accept." The crowd roared. The circle of fire was drawn. Two warriors, one sword, one axe. Kale stepped into the ring shirtless, muscles shining with war paint. Jackson entered in silence, wearing the same gear from the last fight. Dusty, cracked. Human. Lyra stood just outside the circle. Her eyes never left Jackson. He saw the fear behind her calm. Not fear for herself, but for him. The elder raised her hand. "Begin." Kale charged. The first hit nearly broke Jackson's arm. Kale moved like a beast, fast, deadly, trained since birth. Jackson barely blocked, sliding in the dirt. The sword helped, but it wasn't enough. Not this time. Kale's axe slashed again and again. Sparks flew. "You're weak," Kale hissed. "A mistake." Jackson gritted his teeth, rolling back. He was bleeding now, slower, tired, but then he remembered something. Lyra standing behind the fire. Lyra, who trusted him. Lyra, who chose to stand by his side, even when she didn't have to. And something inside Jackson changed. He stood tall again. Kayla came for the final blow. Jackson didn't block it. He stepped into it. The sword moved like wind. Steel met steel. Then silence. Kale's weapon shattered. And the tip of Jackson's blade rested just above his heart. Kale fell to his knees. It was over. The crowd erupted. But Jackson wasn't looking at them. He turned to Lyra, chest rising fast, blood dripping down his arm. "I didn't fight for a title," he said. She stepped forward, her voice shaking. "I know." He dropped the sword. "I fought for you." Lyra reached out and touched his face. "You always do." She whispered. The sword, still lying on the ground, began to glow once more. Lyra had never touched a human before, but now, as her hand pressed gently against Jackson's blood-stained skin, she realized something strange. His warmth calmed her. His heart beat wild and fast, sounded just like her own. Jackson winced as she cleaned the cut on his arm. The pain wasn't the worst part. No, it was the silence. Everyone in the village looked at him differently now. Not as a stranger, not as an outsider, but as someone who had passed the ancient test, the one meant only for warriors of Vayari blood. "You fight like one of us," a young warrior had said earlier, eyes wide. But Jackson didn't feel proud. He just felt heavy. He looked at Lyra, who was focused on wrapping his wound. Her fingers were gentle, her face calm. "You're not going to say anything?" he asked quietly. Lyra tied the bandage and finally looked up. "What do you want me to say?" "I don't know," he said. "Maybe that I did okay." She smiled just a little. "You did more than okay." He laughed under his breath. "Now I know I'm dying. You're giving me a compliment." That made her smile for real. It was rare. It made his chest tighten, not from pain, from something else. Later that night, the village celebrated. Fires burned bright. Meat cooked. Drums played a steady rhythm, but Jackson didn't join. He sat outside the circle of light, watching shadows dance on the trees. The sword lay across his lap. It no longer glowed, but it didn't feel asleep either. It felt quiet, like it was waiting. Lyra sat beside him, holding 2 cups of hot root tea. She handed him one. "You should be celebrating." "I don't feel like a hero," he said. "Good," she replied. "Heroes get remembered. Shields are never forgotten." He looked at her. "Is that what I am to you? A shield?" She turned her face toward the firelight. "You are what I couldn't be alone." "You're not just holding the sword anymore, Jackson. What am I holding then?" She looked into his eyes. "Me." Their silence stretched into the night, comfortable this time. Shared. Then a scout ran toward them, his face pale, eyes wide. "They've come back," he gasped. "Not soldiers this time." Jackson stood. "Then who?" The scout pointed beyond the trees. "They brought her." Lyra froze. "No." She whispered. Jackson looked at her. "Who?" Lyra's voice broke for the first time. "The Hun mother, the one who burned my home, the one who marked me." Jackson's hands clenched around the sword. "Then we finish this." But Lyra shook her head. "You don't understand. If she's here, she didn't come to fight." "Then what did she come for?" Lyra stared into the trees, her voice cold. "She came to claim me." In the shadows beyond the firelight, tall horns curved in the air. A massive figure stepped from the forest, cloaked in black and silver. Her armor shimmered like bone. Her eyes were 2 burning embers. The Hun mother had arrived, and she did not come alone. Behind her marched dozens, silent, armored, deadly. But no weapons were drawn. She raised a clawed hand. I come not for blood, she said, but for a decision. She pointed at Jackson. Choose now, human, release the girl. Or face the storm I carry. The villagers backed away in fear. But Jackson didn't move. He stepped forward, raised the sword, and said just one word. No. The storm didn't come from the sky. It came from her voice. Then you will die with her, the Hun mother said. Her. Words like thunder, and with that, the ground began to shake. Jackson didn't flinch. He stood in front of Lyra, the sword glowing bright in his hand, brighter than ever before. It pulsed with light, with heat, like it was alive, like it was angry. Behind the Hun mother, a massive beast stepped forward, four-legged, covered in silver armor. Eyes red as fire, Lyra whispered. That was the war beast that destroyed my city. Jackson didn't wait. He ran toward it. The battle was chaos. The war beast roared and swung its tail like a building. Jackson dodged and rolled. The sword moved faster than his thoughts, cutting into metal, slicing through armored flesh. The Vayari warriors joined behind him. Spears flew. Arrows screamed. But nothing could bring the monster down until Lyra stepped into the circle. She raised her hand. A burst of flame shot from her palm, hitting the beast's face. It screamed. Jackson leapt, using the beast's back as a ramp, and drove the sword deep into its skull. The glow vanished. The beast collapsed. Dead. Across the battlefield. The Hun mother stared silently. Then she stepped forward alone. You are not Vayari, she said. You are not Firebarn. And yet, you hold the sword as if born for it. Jackson raised it again. I didn't choose the sword. Lyra walked up beside him. We didn't choose the bond, but we honored it. The Hun mother's red eyes narrowed. And now? Lyra took a slow breath and reached for Jackson's hand. Now I choose him. The sword burst with light so bright it forced the Hun mother to step back. A conger wave of heat washed over the field. The bond was sealed. Not by accident. By choice. The Hun mother said nothing more. She turned and left. Her army followed, silent as death. The war was over. That night, the village danced around the fire, not just in celebration, but in awe. A human, bound to a daughter of the Fireborn. A bond written not by blood, but by heart. Jackson and Lyra stood together near the fire, hands still linked. I'm not sure what I am now, Jackson said. You're mine, she whispered. He smiled. And you? She leaned closer. I was born a warrior, raised as a survivor. But with you, I feel like something new. He kissed her forehead gently. Then let's find out together. Above them, the sword rested on the stone where it had once slept. Its glow faded slowly, not because it was done, but because for the first time in 100 years, it was finally at peace.